had this question about fear. It's this kind of a recurring thing, actually, because what you say is that fear comes up for you. The fear will always come up because we're human. That's part of being a human. And and yet I have a sense that when the separate self talks about fear, thinks about fear, or experiences fear, it's probably something different. Because when you say that from your point of view it just flows through, when we have an experience of fear and it doesn't just flow through, it's something different. And I'm wondering if what I think of as fear, for you it's just more like activation, you know, and a sort of animation. And there's a lot of the heaviness heart there somewhere. Do you get what I'm saying? Because I spoke to you during a one-to-one about one of these experiences that I had, one of these big awakening experiences.
Yeah.
And my sense was that I didn't really have any fear, but I did have activation, and I did have a feeling of say pulling my hand away from a fire or stepping out of the way of a bus or a car, and then in that, I wonder if there's something. Oh, it's breaking up.
Yeah, things are really different after awakening, after that energetic awakening. It's really different. But I don't really talk too much about that because otherwise now I've said that to you, everyone at home is going to be sitting there and thinking, oh, I haven't got it, and it's so different and she's got it. So I don't really harper on too much about that part of it.
Yeah.
I can't really explain that.
Yeah.
Of what it's like, but I certainly would call it fear when I experience fear, but it's just that there's nothing that has that fear, so that fear is free. It's like the whole of life holding that fear,
which somehow seems to me really different. I think partly why I'm asking about it is that I have conversations with people where I think what happened to me as a result of that experience, but not just that, as a result of my little bits of Buddhism and meditation and stuff, I think I'm experiencing or thinking about fear in a different way.
Yeah.
And
does it affect your life a lot?
What, fear?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do experience quite a lot of fear, but I think it's changing.
Yeah.
But what happens is that I often get these conversations with people, and I have this idea that maybe fear, well, it's this kind of conversation where people talk about, oh, I'm really worried about this and anxious about this. And there's a kind of belief that, there's a common belief that fear, worry and anxiety are kind of necessary human emotions. Do you know what I mean? That if you're not worried about something or you're not upset, that means you don't care or you can't be motivated. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and when I have conversations with people, I say, well, I'm not sure if we even need fear. So it's related to that. I question with other people when they're habitually playing out these patterns of anxiety, worry, and fear, as if it couldn't be otherwise, as if you have to have those experiences to live.
Yeah.
I kind of include fear in that, and I think that's where particularly people think, surely you have to have fear, because otherwise you wouldn't get out of the way of a bus or something.
Yeah.
And I wonder if even then, what I tend to say is, I'm not sure if you even need fear then. You just have a self-preservation urge. You just get out of the way. But it may not be actually fear. Because by saying that we do still need fear, it kind of encourages the idea that we need to live in fear somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. It's great for being able to question the way people see things and the way people assume that they need worries or that they need these things when they don't. But at the same time, it doesn't really matter. Like right now, to you, does it really matter, this?
I suppose it helps me to feel a bit generally calmer about life.
Right.
I'm learning to let go of anxiety, worry, and fear to some degree,
Yeah.
and that's good.
Yeah, that's great then, if that helps relax the fear.
And also, I feel that I've been able to help other people with it as well.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes people have been quite angry when I go down that route, because it's such a fundamental challenge to what they believe. They can find it quite offensive, actually. The idea that you shouldn't worry, or the idea that there's no need to worry.
Yeah.
Or there's no need to feel really, really upset if someone else is really upset. Because they seem to have the idea, as I did, that it means you don't care. So I have experienced a certain amount of hostility from some people.
Yeah.
But then even when I have experienced some hostility from others, eventually some people have really kind of responded to it and kind of see what I'm saying. But it's a pretty radical kind of shift of a perspective, I think, because it seems that so many people, including me, live in this kind of cycle of worry, anxiety, and fear.
Yeah.
And to really question whether those emotions, as we ordinarily at least think of them and experience them, to question whether they're really necessary at all, is quite radical.
Yeah. It's radical. What do you feel now, Keith? What's going on inside your body?
I sense a kind of tension that feels like it's to do with wanting to be right.
Yeah? Where do you feel that? I could feel the weight of that in that conversation. I'm sorry, I can't always work out what's going on, but I can feel when something's not about what's being spoken about.
Right.
And I could feel that there was something else in that conversation. And so it was making it hard for me to follow your words. So I could hear your words, but I was finding it hard to engage in the conversation because it was like the words were empty, but not empty as in the big empty, but empty as in there was something else going on.
Yeah.
So just put your attention in the body and see what it is that you're looking for in this moment.
Yeah, it's a good point, because ironically, I think at the moment I am feeling quite a lot of fear and worry.
Yeah? Where do you feel those?
I'm feeling some tension in my chest and shoulders, but also in my belly.
Yeah.
And in my solar plexus.
Yeah.
So I kind of
just totally allow that in and see the game that you are playing in order to get out of it. See what your mind was trying to do in order to not acknowledge these feelings. It's like a circular thing because the thinking and the mind keep the feelings going on. All we need to do is acknowledge what's actually happening. Just let that be. And it's totally okay. You're 100% allowed to feel afraid, and you're 100% allowed to feel worry. You've been brought up in a society which has indoctrinated this into you, if that's how you say it properly. It's pushed it on you, that you have to worry about the future, that you have to be afraid, that there's something wrong with you, and it's not true. But the only way it's seen that it's not true is by not running away, just allowing that sensation to take over. Because it's not your sensation, this is life's sensation. You don't own that sensation. You don't have to control that sensation. You don't have to manage that sensation. So just let it take everything. Like, let the fear go everywhere. It's okay, life can handle it. Perception can handle it. The experiencer can handle it because it's the creator of everything. The person feels overwhelmed, but just let the person feel overwhelmed. So just stay with that for a few minutes. And whatever the thoughts come up saying about you don't want to do this or you've done this before, whatever it's going to say, just let them come in and out. None of it means anything. Just let the experience be the experience.
It's really strange because now I'm feeling a bit tearful and
Yeah. So you just let those tears come if they come. Don't push it, just let it come. We don't really know what's happening. The body's just going through this waking up process, and it's not anybody's. Just is happening. So when the attention's put in the body, this other element comes of sadness, which could have been behind the fear, could have been part of the fear. But just let it come.
Well, what's weird is that I was asking this question in quite a sort of theoretical way, as you noticed.
Yeah.
More deeply, and the thing is that in the last week and a half, a really close friend has had a cancer diagnosis.
Yeah.
And I've been with them and sort of trying to be supportive to them with them, and they're really afraid. And I think I've probably been trying to be strong, and I haven't really quite felt my own fear.
Yeah.
I think I've been suppressing it quite a bit.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I made this point about maybe fear isn't necessary. And it really felt like such a sort of... It didn't feel like it was related to this, even though it's a completely obvious thing.
Yeah.
That's happened recently. It's weird.
But that's what the seeker does.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the seeker is never honest. The
Yeah.
feelings normally are that which point to the honesty. Like when I used to fight with my teacher, because I used to always, he'd point something out, like something I was doing, and I wouldn't want to admit it, so I'd argue with him and argue with him, and he'd always say, the feelings say, the feelings know. What do you feel now? And then I would like go into the feeling of the body, and I'd be like totally tense and contracted and fearful, and then I'd be like, fuck, he's right.
Yeah.
But the thoughts are only interested in seeking to get to some place better, to some place of security. They're not bad, but they're not interested in truth. They're not interested in reporting back what's actually happening. They're interested in finding a solution to the discomfort, because that's what thoughts do. But they've just taken on too big a role. They believe that your happiness is dependent on them.
Yeah, because I did have this upsurge of feeling that kind of it's really unfair, the world is wrong, the world is horrible, life's horrible.
Yeah. From your friend having cancer.
Yeah, which is sort of stuff that I've been letting go of a lot in recent years. And then it's all come up, I think, quite a lot in the last week.
Yeah. It's such a great lesson, death and the decaying of the body, because we believe we're alive, and we unconsciously believe that that's ours and that we're always going to be alive in some way. But we're not alive. We've never been alive. It's all false, everything we're thinking of. So Khaleesi, like I always take it back to the dog, but Khaleesi, because I don't like to talk about myself and use myself as an example, so Khaleesi's the good outlet for that. But she doesn't think I'm alive, so she doesn't have this sense of what her life needs to be, and she doesn't have a sense of avoiding decay and rotting, because she's not identified with being alive. So it is as it is. So if she, like in Thailand, because she used to hunt chickens, often they'd chop off a paw if a dog hunted chickens. If she had her paw chopped off, she had only 3 legs, she wouldn't have a sense of losing part of her body, because it's not hers in the first place. She's not identified with anything. And in the very instant, who you truly are is that boundless freedom, is that innocence. Now we as humans, we come with self-awareness. It can be awareness of the health of the body or the disease of the body, but that's not you. Who you are is the perception of that. So the person can have fear and discomfort, but who you are is never affected, because who you are isn't a thought, isn't an idea, isn't a feeling. It is no thing and everything, and it's totally free of all of that. So the person can have a response to that, but that's not your response. The suffering comes when it's your response.
Yeah, I think there's this thing about feeling that I want to be able to be a certain way with my friend.
Yeah.
So it's like controlling. I'm wanting to, in a way, control how I am.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I can be really, present and calm and helpful.
Yeah, that's a beautiful quality that can come up in humans, but from this spiritual path you have to be as you are.
Yeah. And actually, it would probably be less helpful for her if I end up suppressing things.
Yeah, totally, because as soon as that conversation started between you and me, I could feel it. I could feel that it wasn't lining up, but I can't, I'm not that quick. You can't be like a machine gun and go, this isn't true, but I could feel it in my body. If you watch it back, I was beginning to fidget and and I closed my eyes at a point because it just wasn't matching up. So that's what will happen to her. The greatest gift you can give her is yourself. That doesn't mean you need to overburden her with what you're feeling, but
Sure, yeah.
you can just, if she asks you, you can say, I feel afraid too. Oh man, that would just be so beautiful for her. Rather than telling her there is no fear and to look at her fear, just to say, I feel afraid too.
Yeah, I mean, I've already thought about going down that route with her, because she's away at the moment, but when it first came up, I don't think I was really acknowledging my own feelings. I was prioritising being calm for her.
Yeah.
And since she's been away, it suddenly hit me like the shock.
Yeah.
I went through a period of probably being in a bit of shock.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it hit me in the last couple of days. And I realised I need to say things like that to her as well.
Yeah. Just acknowledging what you're feeling. And then if you feel like teaching her as well, and that comes up, then that can come up. But just always do it from what you feel in that moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that was sweet speaking with you, Keith. You're so good at just surrendering into it. You know, when I pointed it out, you just surrendered into that. That's nice.
Yeah, well, that's why what I really appreciate in you, the way you do that and see it. Yeah.
Thanks, Keith.
Thanks a lot. That's great.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.